and welcome to In the Workshed. Today I'd like to talk to you about light sources at a LARP. Let's be frank here, a lot of our LARPs take place in the woods, a lot of our LARPs take place late into the night. And how do you find the battlefield? How do you find the enemy? How do you find a cabin? Or how do you find the bathhouse when you need to go to the restroom? These are all questions on how to do this in genre, in character, and not break immersion. And quite frankly, the most immersion breaking thing you can probably use is a flashlight. It is just not genre. You can't have a medieval fantasy walking around with this, or pirate LARP, or cowboy LARP, or even potentially even a dystopian future LARP. Something like this may not really work. Quite frankly, it's out of genre, and also it's directional. So if you're walking through the woods trying to find something or someone, you might actually be hitting somebody in the face with this and kill their night vision. A lot of people get very upset about that. A lot of sneaky people out there are rogues, are thieves. They like not losing their night vision. And yes, you could buy films, you could buy things to put over this, red filters, make sure you don't kill that night vision. But still, this just doesn't feel very genre walking through the woods like this. So today I want to go through with you guys the steps that we went through trying to find the perfect light source for our LARPs that is genre specific and also doesn't kill your night vision. Now our first one that we went to was something like this. These are your very simple candles that you can find at nearly any store. This one we got specifically from a Halloween store, which is why it got that like little nice flame to it there. And it's a candle. The thing is, it doesn't put out a lot of light. So when you're walking through the woods with something like this, it feels really cool. You know, it looks really cool walking through a cabin like this. But if you're trying to find your path in the night, or trying to find a dropped object or something, this isn't going to cut it. It looks very period, and it's very safe. But, yeah, it doesn't produce enough light for us. So our next step, what we went to, was a pair of these. Now, we bought these online on Amazon, but you can actually find these in stores a lot. What they are battery-powered LED lights. And they are glass, they are this kind of very cheap metal, and they turn on by here. You twist this, and that's how it turns on. This one's kind of on the fritz, and that's kind of one of the reasons I don't like, it's one of the reasons I don't like using these too often. These look very genre, and walking around the woods with one of these, it feels really, really cool, especially if it's a very genre LARP. For our cowboy LARPs, walking around with like a red light, you know, feels very trainy. You know, you always see red lights on trains, so it feels very cool. So these genre looking are very fun. The issue is we had to modify these ourselves. What actually happens is there are LED lights in there, and it produces an LED light, and a bright light. A bright white light doesn't look like candle. It doesn't look like a flame. It doesn't look like you actually have something burning in there. It just looks like a glorified flashlight. So what we did with both of these were we used films. What we did was we went to a hobby store that sold gels for lights, you know, like in a theater. They sell blue gels and green gels. Well, we bought a kit that had red gels and we had yellow gels, and we had to actually go in there and open these up, which is kind of a pain and a half. We had to open these up to insert the films, and we actually had to tape them in. Now this one's a little bit easier because it's like a little tube-like, but this was a very strenuous task. It was very hard and very annoying. And again, one of the big issues was, well, right there, this one doesn't really work too well. It works when it wants to. They are battery powered, and they are these big honkin' D-cell batteries. Can't get that back on there. My biggest issue with these is that they're just not sturdy enough. They're built for decorations. They're built to be hung, you know, in somebody's house. They're built to sit outside on a porch. I beat the heck out of these things when I carry them around at LARPs. You walk around, sometimes I'll put them on the barrel of my gun and walk around like Django Unchained. They fall over, you know, you're running through the woods with these things, in many cases being chased by a big scary monster. So these have a habit of falling. I got a couple nicks and dashes in these. But the issue is they're not reliable. This one especially, as you can see, I tried turning it on earlier, and it works when it wants to. You can't have that. You need reliability in a game. there is glass here, and that's always a big concern. I don't like bringing anything glass to a LARP because I'm just afraid it's going to break and shatter, and then all of a sudden you got glass all over the battlefield. So that's a concern, but there is this nice little wire here to help protect the glass. But the big issue is just they're not reliable, and they're kind of a pain to set up. If you don't know what you're doing, especially lifting this part up here, that's how you normally lift up these kind of lanterns, that exposes all the wires, and that might mean that you break it. So it's kind of a tricky. So this wasn't the perfect ideal. This wasn't the best thing we came up with, but it was a nice stopping point. So let me show you what we finally have been using regularly. Now, it doesn't look nearly as fun. It doesn't look nearly as cool as these lanterns. These are so genre specific. But what this is a little bit more reliable. What we did was we went to our crafting store, our local crafting store, and they sell these lanterns, and this lantern especially was at a going out of business sale. Sad to say my local Packatans is gone. I love you, Packatans, and you're gone. But they were selling these for like $2, and what it originally was had a glass insert throughout the entirety here, and I just simply took the glass insert and threw it away, because again, I don't want glass at my LARPs. I don't want this falling over and breaking. What we then did was we went to Amazon and we bought a couple of these. Actually, they came in a 2-pack. These are LED light bulbs, but instead of them producing an LED light, it actually produces like a flame. You can search these very easily on Amazon, looking up flame bulbs, LEDs. What's great about these is it has this really cool looking flame effect going up, and it's actually directional. If you flip it around the other way, the flames actually change direction. It's actually very cool. And there's multiple settings. If you want it to do a pulsate, there's a pulsating version of it. If you just want a stable version of it, it's just a full stable light. So you have options to it here. What I did then was I just put a little silver tape around it to not make it look, completely like a light bulb. It's USB powered, so you have a little USB port here, it comes with an attachment for you, and it's powered just at the top right here by clicking like that. What I did to make sure that it would then stick to it was I had a little piece of string hanging down the inside that I attached. It hooks on just like that, and there you go. You got yourself your lantern. Which, again, in the daylight, it looks dreadful. It looks absolutely cruddy. But you don't need this during the daylight. You need this late at night. And quite frankly, this produces an awful lot of light. And again, it's an awful lot of genre-specific light. It looks like a flame. We have a couple of these, and when we hang these up around our cabins in places where we don't have a lot of electricity, it produces a really fun, warm, welcoming environment that also really doesn't kill your night vision either. And this thing is super safe. Let me tell you, I went running. I've run so many times with this thing, clanking, 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 and it hasn't broken yet. It's been, now let me knock on wood there. It's been pretty stable. It's been pretty sturdy, and it's also pretty environmentally safe too, because it's not running off of batteries. It just runs off of a USB port. Like all of these light sources, this does sadly have an issue. Remember how I said before a lot of our LARPs take place in the winter when it gets dark at like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock? These don't have an especially long lifespan. So I hope you bring your USB charging ports with you, or else you'll be in trouble like I was the first time I brought these. What tends to happen is it will not last a full night. It will last probably around 8 hours or so, and then after that you need to charge them. Which is perfect at a LARP because you use them at night, you charge them during the day, you pull them back out, and you use them again. But make sure you have a full charge on these, because if it's not fully charged, it just flashes, and it's a very annoying effect. And at that point you might as well just put it away and deal with the night. I just wanted to go over a brief overview of the different types of light sources you can use at a LARP. And it's really up to you and your playstyle. Because you can have something that's very functional, but doesn't look very genre at all. You can have something that's really into genre, but isn't functional at all. You could have something that's genre and also functional, but maybe doesn't have the same reliability that you want. Or you could have something that's reliable, functional, and is pretty LARP safe that you can drop this thing down a staircase and it'll still keep working. So it's really up to you and your playstyle. But I hope you consider these options, and again, these are all very easy to find. I found knockoffs of these, ones that are just straight red or straight black. I've seen these at Target for $5 at the end of summer. I've seen these at dollar stores and thrift stores and Halloween stores. They're pretty easy to find. These light bulbs, simply buy those off of Amazon. They have a pretty good selection there. Take your pick. And then all you have to do is just find an appropriate container, an appropriate lantern to put it in, and then you're good to go. And again, if you're a thrift shopper like we are, you know, finding something like this is very inexpensive, very cheap. So happy hunting out there. Hope you guys find the light source that fits best for you. We are Breaking Character, and this is In the Workshed. Thank you, and have a good day.